Hi, and welcome to the Great American Read. I'm Bonnie Eads, a member of our team here at Newbridge, a programming team, and I'm bringing you today what I hope will be something of interest to you that will be done over a period of time. It's called The Great American Read, America's 100 Most Beloved Novels. Now, this might sound a little bit familiar to you. You might have heard about it in the past. And so, it's always something to revisit the things that we've read in the past with a different eye towards the meaning of the book. So, what I will begin to share with you is America's Great Read, the Great American Read. It is an 8-part series that was done on PBS that explored the power of reading. It's told through the prism of America's 100 best loved novels, and this was chosen in a national survey by Dove.com. I will tell you that there were over 7,200 respondents to this. It was a survey that was done in person with people across the United States. And the series explored how and why writers create their fictional worlds. And with so many different respondents, both by online and in person, they came together and put the 8-part series on PBS together, and then a wonderful program on each one of the books. I have put together backgrounds on the books, the people, and the plots. Now, how we as readers are affected by these stories. As I said before a moment ago, we read things at one age and then pick up the book again 8, 10, 20 years later. And it gives us a different meaning. We look at it through a different perspective. So, what these 100 different books have to say about our diverse nation, it's a very eclectic group of books, and we will explore that together. This is all about a shared human experience from the survey itself, from the producers that put together the 8-part PBS series, and you and I sharing this together. I expect that this will be a great topic of conversation with you and your kids and your grandkids and with one another. Memories that you can share having read the books yourselves. What were you thinking about when you read those books? How did you react to it? If you revisit the novel after we do this program, and having that dialogue with your family and friends, the human experience. Now, this series was the centerpiece of a very, very ambitious multi-platform digital educational and community outreach campaign, as I briefly just mentioned. And it was a program, the goal of the program, to get the country reading and talking passionately about books. As it so happens now with COVID, forgive me, with COVID, reading has become a necessity for all of us. So, what better time than to revisit this program of 100 great American read books? Now, the series culminated with a finale that announced the results of a national voting and awarded the title of the most beloved novel in America. Some of the questions you might ask: how were the top 100 books chosen? PBS and the producers worked together with the public opinion polling service of YouGov to conduct a demographically and statistically representative survey asking Americans to name their most loved novel. How was the list narrowed to the top? Aha! The results were tallied and organized based on the selection criteria and overseen by an advisory panel of 13 literary industry professionals. 1, the author was limited to one title on the list. 2, books published in series or featuring ongoing characters counted as one eligible entry on the list. Number 3, books could be from anywhere in the world as long as they were published in English. Number 4, only fiction could be included in this poll. And number 5, each advisory panel member was permitted to select one book for discussion and possible inclusion in the top 100 list. What books are included on the list? Well, the list contains a broad range of fictional titles, authors, time periods, countries, genres, and subject matter. The list contains books from as far back as the 1600s and as recent as 2016. Many of the categories represented 20th century American classics, thrillers, young adult novels, sci-fi, fantasy, adventure, historical, fiction, romance, and books that represent the human experience told from a diverse range of perspectives. Why are there only fiction books included? Why aren't religious books included, you might ask? I'll tell you. The Great American Read is searching for the country's best loved novel. While I recognize the broad categories of books available, they chose to narrow the focus to works of fiction because it would be impossible to cover them all. Which novel would you nominate to be on the list of the best American novels? So we're going to take a look at novels that were by different early years. Don Quixote, The Pilgrim's Progress, Gulliver's Travels, Pride and Prejudice, Frankenstein, The Count of Monte Cristo, Wuthering Heights, Jane Eyre, Moby Dick, Great Expectations, Alice's Adventure in Wonderland, Crime and Punishment, Little Women, and some of these, War and Peace. Now, these are by release of the years these books were released. Now, will they appear in the most 100? That you're going to have to stay tuned and see. The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, The Picture of Dorian Gray, Heart of Darkness, The Call of the Wild, Anne of Green Gables, Siddhartha, The Great Gatsby, The Sun Also Rises. How many of these books have you read? Once, twice, maybe more, and maybe once again, you'll be reading these books. Now, again, I am just sharing with you the years that these books were released. And we are going to find out if they made it to the list and at what number. Donna Barbara, Gone with the Wind, Their Eyes Were Watching God, and Then There Were None, The Grapes of Wrath, A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. I know I have a lot of memories that are just kind of rushing by when I read these to you, even now. 1984, that's a one that must be read now. The Chronicles of Narnia, have you ever heard of that? Aha, Foundations. The Catcher in the Rye, Invisible Man, Charlotte's Web, The Lord of the Rings. We're revisiting the years these books were released. Things Fall Apart, A Separate Peace, The Sirens of Titan, To Kill a Mockingbird, Where the Red Fern Grows, Another Country, Dune, 100 Years of Solitude. I can't believe that was written in 1967. If you haven't read that one, that is actually one of my favorite books. All right, 1969, The Godfather. 1972, Bless Me, Ultima. 1978, The Stand. 1978, Tales of the City. 1979, Flowers in the Attic. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, 1979. 1980, The Clan of the Cave Bear, also in 80, A Confederacy of Dunces. The Color Purple by Alice Walker in 1982. The Hunt for Red October. I'm going to try and do these as fast as possible. The Handmaid's Tale in 1985, now a miniseries, 2 years, 2 seasons on Hulu. 1985, Lonesome Dove. 1986, The Present Darkness. 1987, The Watchers. 1987 also, Swan Song and Beloved by Toni Morrison. Also in 1987, Hatchet, a big year for the literary world. 1988, one of the most read books ever in a number of languages, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. 1989, Pillars of the Earth. Also in 1989, Mind Invaders by Dave Hunt. 1989, A Prayer for Owen Meany. Some of these books, it seems like yesterday. Another one of my favorites, The Joy Luck Club by Amy Tan. 1990, Jurassic Park. 1990, The Wheel of Time. 91, the Outlander series, which has become fabulously popular in its sixth season. If you haven't seen that, that's really a wonderful, wonderful watch. If you want to binge, especially 1993, The Giver, a wonderful book by Lois Lowry. 1993, Alex Cross Mysteries. James Patterson again turned into television series. 1995, Left Behind series. And in 1996, The Notebook also turned into a movie. 1996, A Song of Fire and Ice. 1997, Memoirs of a Geisha, another fabulous book by Arthur Golden. 1997, the Harry Potter series. Admittedly, I have not read them all. 99, The Coldest Winter Ever. And 99, The Tuitionist by Whitehead, Colson Whitehead. In the year 2000, White Teeth by Zadie Smith. 2002, The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebels. That was a tough book. 2003, New Englander, The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. 2003, The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. In 2004, Gilead. In 2005, Looking for Alaska. In 2005, also the Twilight series, also made into a mega, mega series, which the millennials seem to really love. 2005, The Book Thief, great book. 2007, The Brief and Wondrous Life of Oscar Wu. 2007, The Shack. 2008, The Hunger Games, made into a series of movies. 2009, another book that was made into a blockbuster, The Help by Catherine Stockett. We're going to go more into detail if these books get onto the list. Ready Player One, 2011. 50 Shades series by E.L. James, very risque. 2011, The Martian. 2012, Gone Girl, takes place in Boston, Gillian Flynn. Americana in 2013. 2016, Ghost. All right, and that's where we stop. But from this list, which books would you nominate as your favorite top 5? Well, I don't expect that you've memorized that list. They flew by rather quickly, although I tried to give it a little bit of time. But to keep your attention, we had to do it quickly. So, if you were to nominate these books, which would be your top 5, I can provide you with a list, which you can peruse at your leisure. And it would be wonderful to get you to send me your top 5 favorites. But first, let's go on with the Great American Read. All right, the countdown to America's favorite novel. We are going to start with the final results. Number 100 on your list of the Great American Read, Dona Barbara by Romulo Gallegos. Number 99, The Tuitionist by Colson Whitehead. Number 98, The Coldest Winter Ever by Sister Souljah. Number 97, Ghost by Jason Reynolds. 96, White Teeth by Zadie Smith. 95, Mind Invaders by Dave Hunt. So let me take a break here. These are the books, but I'm going over them now quickly because I don't want you to be bored. And so it is these books that we will go in depth and we will look at together in our upcoming meetings here on channel 918. So this is an ongoing series. In at number 94, Swan Song by Robert McCammon. Number 93, The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wu by Junot Diaz. Number 92, Looking for Alaska by John Green. 91, Bless Me Ultima by Rodolfo Anaya. Number 90, Another Country by James Baldwin. James Baldwin, there's a biography that's just come out recently, which that's actually another program I hope to bring to you is the New York Times 50 best biographies at all time. Okay, I digress. Number 89, Americana. 88, The Present Darkness. 87, The Sirens of Titan. 86, 50 Shades of Grey. 85, Flowers in the Attic. 84, Gilead. 83, Heart of Darkness. 82, Things Fall Apart. 81, Alex Cross Mysteries. Number 80, The Pilgrim's Progress. Number 79, Watchers. 78, Gone Girl. 77, Left Behind. 76, Ready Player One. 75, Gulliver's Travels. 74, Tales of the City. 73, The Twilight Saga. 72, Invisible Man. 71, Hatchet. Number 70, The Alchemist. 69, The Lovely Bones. 68, Don Quixote. 67, A Separate Piece. 66, The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night. 65, The Sun Also Rises. Number 64, Crime and Punishment. 63, Siddhartha. 62, The Wheel of Time series. 61, The Martian. 60, Beloved by Toni Morrison. 59, The Hunt for Red October. 58, A Confederacy of Dunces. 57, The Shack. 56, The Notebook. 55, A Picture of Dorian Gray. 54, 100 Years of Solitude. 53, The Godfather. 52, Jurassic Park. 51, aha, did you think I was going to tell you the whole list? No. So here we go, folks. Those were the books from 100 to 49. And now we're going to look at the top 50. These now we're going to go into a little bit more depth with the top 50 most beloved books in America. And at number 50, War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. Count Leo Tolstoy, born in 1828. His early works focused on a wealthy youth's political awakening. After Anna Karenina, done in 1877, he shifted to nonfiction as a result of his spiritual awakening at the age of 50. Tolstoy developed his own radical Christian belief system and became increasingly anarchist. His theories, while they were concerning nonviolence, influenced later leaders, including Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., and Nelson Mandela. War and Peace. The novel is about the themes of war and peace as states of life and forces and the progression of history. War and Peace also addresses the power of true love, the confrontation between grand ambition and harsh reality, and the desperate search for significance. Now, on the surface, War and Peace is a novel about the French invasion of Russia and its effect on the aristocracy. But if you go a little deeper, the novel explores how to make one's life more meaningful. In summary, the novel opens at a fancy ball. By the way, a little bit of trivia, it was rewritten 15 times before it was published by Tolstoy. At this ball, the readers meet some of the novel's primary aristocratic characters, including the lovely and charming Natasha Rostova, the chunky, affable Pierre Bezukhov, forgive me. Now, my accent's not going to be great on a lot of things, even though I have a Russian background. That was many years ago, so forgive me. An illegitimate son of the Count, and Andrei Volkovsky, a practical, rational, and patriotic aristocrat. In 1805, it is set, residents of St. Petersburg are just beginning to hear about Napoleon's conquering of the West. By the time the novel ends, 7 years later, the Russians have defeated the French in a rout that turns the tides of the Napoleonic War. By the novel's end, we have encountered 600 characters. Yes, 600. Some wholly fictional and others actual figures from history. War and Peace works like a camera, sweeping into a close up on a small moment, then pulling back to reveal a broad swath of action. That was War and Peace, number 50. In at number 49, the Foundation series by Isaac Asimov. Born in 1920, passing in 1992, he was born in Russia. His family immigrated in 1923 and settled in New York City. His parents ran a candy store in Brooklyn. As a child, he convinced his parents that the pulpy sci-fi magazines he read were educational because they often had science in their titles. Asimov earned a PhD in biochemistry from Columbia and taught that subject at the college level. The book, the series. In 1942, inspired by Edward Gibbon's The History of the Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, Asimov conceived of the Galactic Empire in a series of short stories, which were later published as Foundation. He published two more novels in rapid succession, Foundation and Empire in 1952, and Second Foundation in 1953, and that was the Foundation series. He then took a 30-year break, but picked up at the story exactly where he left off. Then he wrote two more sequels and two prequels before his death in 1992, thus becoming the Foundation series. I love when they do prequels of books that become really popular. Now, in summary, the Foundation books trace the work of central character Hari Seldon. Seldon is a brilliant thinker. He invents psychohistory, a mathematical sociological model that can predict and shape the collective behavior of humans over a very long period of time. Now, while Seldon cannot foresee the behavior of any one individual, his system demonstrates that the galactic empire is doomed to fail, at which point chaos and mayhem will descend for thousands of years, but then a second empire will rise. As he analyzes his data, his patterns, he realizes that this terrible period could be significantly shortened via the launch of Foundation, composed of talented, capable people who will serve as the basis of the subsequent empire. Got all that? All right, that was the Foundation series. In at 48, Games of Thrones, also a series by George R.R. Martin. Now, this might be familiar to you because it went on to be a very successful, one of the most successful series on television. Now, Martin was born in 1948. What a picture that has so much character. He is an American novelist and short story writer in the fantasy, horror, and sci-fi genres. He's a screenwriter and television producer. He is best known for his series of epic fantasy novels, A Song of Ice and Fire, which is adapted into the HBO series Game of Thrones. And if you haven't seen it, okay, try it. I'm going to be honest with you, it was not my kind of a series, but I can tell you this is one of the most all-time favorites ever done on television. So try it out, see what you think. HBO, A Game of Thrones. Now, in 2005, Lev Grossman of Time called Martin the American Tolkien. And in 2011, he was included on the annual Time 100 list of the most influential people in the world. He is the son of a longshoreman born in Bayonne, New Jersey. In 1970, Martin earned his BS in journalism from Northwestern's University Medill School of Journalism in Evanston, Illinois, great school. After he graduated summa cum laude, he went out to complete his MS in journalism, and in 1971, also at Medill. So, the Game of Thrones series, the books. It's a series of 5 novels. A Song of Ice and Fire ranks with The Lord of Rings and The Wheel of Time. Now, here we go. All 3 stories offer a vast and thoroughly realized imaginary universe full of charismatic characters, interesting settings, and supernatural elements. Now, the Game of Thrones novels pose moral dilemmas. They depict worlds in the throes of great change and introduce a range of individuals to root for or despise, but more sex and more politics. So, to summarize, a series of novels, The Game of Thrones. They are A Clash of Kings, A Storm of Swords, A Feast for Crows, The Winds of Winter. And the books detail the fates of several noble families as they fight amongst themselves with one another with notable vehemence and viciousness. A second battle is raging. The 8,000-year-old wall is all that stands between the 7 kingdoms and an undead army bent on the destruction of mankind. Whew. You know, after reviewing this again, that actually might be interesting during this time of COVID. Didn't think much of it before as a series, but now maybe I'll give it a second chance. In at number 47, most beloved book, Catch 22 by Joseph Heller. This is more my speed. Heller, born in 1993, died in 1999. He was born in Coney Island, Brooklyn in 1923. His parents, originally born in Russia, he attended NYU after serving in the war, and then he received his master's from Columbia. His early career was in publishing, and then he switched to copywriting for an advertising agency, no doubt to pay the bills. But after the massive success of Catch 22, Heller went on to write more novels, including a 1994 sequel to Catch, several screenplays, and 2 memoirs. Now, Catch 22 is a funny novel about war, which may sound like an oxymoron, or at least it was until Catch 22 rolled onto the scene in 1961. With a penetrating eye and a sarcastic wit, Joseph Heller radically altered how we write and talk about war. The novel grew out of Heller's experiences as a bombardier during World War II, but has parallels with later conflicts. Catch 22 seemed to embody the 1960s, mistrust of authority, preconceived notions, and conformity. Catch 22 sought to figure out how a person is supposed to stay sane in an insane world. I'm going to say that again because it's very, well, the circumstances might be a little bit different. How we can stay sane in an insane world during COVID right now. It truly makes that statement something we all live with right now. Now, the summary. So the novel focuses on Yossari and his experience with the American Army Air Force's squadron on an island off the coast of Italy near the end of World War II. Angry that so many people are trying to murder him, Captain Yossarian consistently and constantly tries to get out of flying bomb runs. His superiors, however, keep raising the number of runs the men must fly before being discharged so that no one ever leaves except their death. Many of his closest friends are driven insane by their wartime experiences, but Yossarian works to hang on to his humanity and his lucidity. The extent of Yossarian's trauma is gradually revealed over the course of the book. The catch-22 that Heller's pilots face is that they can be excused from flying missions if they are found to be insane. But requesting an evaluation of their sanity shows that they are concerned only for themselves and therefore must be sane. Catch 22. Number 46. Moby Dick by Herman Melville. Melville, an American novelist, short story writer, and poet of the American Renaissance period. His best known works include Type in 1840, TP. Notice I don't have my glasses on. His best known works include TP in 1846, a romantic account of his experiences in Polynesian life, and his whaling novel, Moby Dick, published in 1851. His work was almost forgotten during the last 30 years of his life. His writings draw on his experience at sea as a common sailor, exploration of literature and philosophy, and engagement in the contradictions of American society on a period of rapid change. Melville was born in New York City, the third child of a merchant in French dry goods and his wife. His formal education ended abruptly after his father died in 1832, as they left the family in as this left his family in financial ruins. He briefly became a school teacher before he took to the sea in 1839 as a sailor on a merchant ship. Moby Dick, a classic. Call me Ishmael. This simple sentence begins a novel that is anything but simple. Moby Dick is simultaneously a psychological study of the Bible, a work of philosophy, an allegoric treatise, a cautionary tale about the dangers of revenge and ambition. It's an epic prose poem and a textbook on the 19th century whaling. Summary then, the narrator, like the biblical counterpart, is an outcast, Ishmael, who turns to the sea for meaning, relays to the audience the final voyage of the Pequod, a whaling vessel. Amid a story of tribulation, beauty, and madness, the reader is introduced to a number of characters, many of whom with names that are religious. The ship's captain, Ahab, who blamed Ishmael and his friend Pequod, soon learn is losing his disapproval of Ahab's increasingly obsessive behavior. This nature of Ahab's obsession is first revealed to Ishmael and Queequeg after the Pequod's owners, Peleg and Bilad, explain to them that Ahab is recovering from an encounter with a large whale that resulted in the loss of his leg. That whale's name, of course, Moby Dick. The Pequod sets sail, and the crew is soon informed that this journey will be unlike any other whaling mission this time. Despite reluctance of Starbuck, Ahab intends to hunt and kill the beastly Moby Dick, no matter the cost. Ahab and his crew continue their eventful journey and encounter a number of obstacles along the way. Well, Queequeg falls ill, which prompts a coffin to be built in anticipation of the worst. Moby Dick is spotted and over the course of 3 days engages violently with Ahab and Pequod until the whale destroys the ship, killing everyone except Ishmael. Ishmael survives by floating on the coffin of Queequeg until he is picked up by another ship, the Rachel. I think we have time for a couple more. Number 45, Memories of a Geisha by Arthur Golden. He's a Brookline resident, yes? Arthur Golden. Arthur Golden, born in 1956 in Chattanooga, Tennessee. He is the son of Ruth Sulzberger and Ben Hall Golden. Through his mother, he is a member of the Ox Sulzberger family. His mother was a daughter of longtime Times publisher Arthur Hayes Sulzberger and the granddaughter of Times owner and publisher Adolph Ox. He was raised in Lookout Mountain, Georgia. He attended the Lookout Mountain Elementary School in Lookout Mountain, Tennessee. And then he comes to Boston, where he attended Harvard University and received a degree in art history, specializing in Japanese art. In 1980, he earned an MA in Japanese history at Columbia. And after a summer at Peking University in Beijing, China, he worked in Tokyo. When he returned to the United States, he earned his MA in English from Boston University, and I beat the punch, currently lives in Brookline. I would love to run into him because this was truly one of my favorite books. Have you read it? I've read this one twice, maybe three times. I'm not sure what grabbed me most about this book. I wish we had time to really talk about in-depth feelings. I'm asking you all as a community and with your friends and relatives, read and talk about these books. Great time to start a Zoom book club if you haven't already, with your family, with your friends, with your neighbors. This list, my presentation of this, is really for you to start talking and reading. Read, reread, and in many cases, I'm sure, these books, and then talk. Golden lends his, back to Memories of a Geisha. Arthur Golden lends this best-selling novel the gravitas of nonfiction by beginning with a translator's note. As the fictional Japanese history professor Jacob Harihus recounts, he traveled to Kyoto as a young boy and was captivated by the geisha. Decades later, as an adult, he is overjoyed to tell the story of the famous Sayori Nida, the book the readers now hold in their hands. The artifice, works, and memoirs of a geisha reads like lived history, and that's why I loved it. So, summary. Sayori Rida's real name is Chayo Sakamoto. In Memories of a Geisha, the readers learn of her humble beginnings as the beautiful gray-eyed daughter of a poor fisherman and her sale to a Kyoto geisha house at the age of 9 in 1929. She was renamed Sayori. She receives extensive training to become a geisha. In time, she falls in love with Chairman Ken Uwirama, but encounters many obstacles before getting the happy ending she dreams of several years later. Memoirs of a Geisha peels back the curtain to reveal the cutthroat world of the geisha culture. Women are compelled to tamp down their identities and to take on the character of a consummate entertainer, musician, dancer, companion. Number 44, The Giver by Lois Lowry. Wait, now I'm going to take off my glasses. Do you ever have that trouble? You can't see with them and you can't see without them. So if I mispronounce a name or stumble over something, it's because I'm having a little difficulty seeing. But either way, it's a problem. So, The Giver by Lois Lowry. What a book. Lowry was born on March 20th, 1937 in Honolulu, Hawaii. She won her first Newbery Award for the 1989 novel, Number the Stars, another wonderful book. In 1993, Lowry received the honor a second time for The Giver, which would eventually become a 2014 film. More recent works include Sun, 2012, and Goonie Bird in All Her Charms in 2013. She was a shy and introverted child, but she loved to read. She was around 8 or 9 years old when she decided she wanted to be a writer. Her father was a dentist and an army officer, which led her to live in several different places growing up. Lowry spent some of her school years in Japan, but ended up graduating from a New York high school. She then spent 2 years at Brown University before dropping out to get married. Memory matters. The idea is central to The Giver, the young adult novel that won the Newbery Medal in 1994. Now, what and how we choose to remember, to memorialize, and to pass on not only shapes us as individuals, but also shapes our collective consciousness. Creating and cementing connections between people may be thought of as the broader theme of Lois Lowry's entire collection of works, more than 40 books for children and young adults. I know that was one of my daughter's favorites. Well, in summary, when the novel begins, Jonah's society, known as the community, appears to be perfect. Well, he and his friends do fun, pleasant things. Nobody has to do the dishes. Nobody goes hungry, and nobody feels pain or sadness. On the day he turns 12, Jonas is apprenticed as the next receiver of memory. He slowly discovers sameness, the plan to eliminate all suffering and strife from everyone's life. Well, what seemed a utopia is really revealed as is a dystopia, that no one can see color or express creativity or experience the emotions and variety that gives richness and meaning to our lives. As Jonas accumulates knowledge, his eyes are open to the uncomfortable truths of his community. Number 43, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Writer Mary Shelley was born Mary Wollstonecraft Godwin. Mary Wollstonecraft Godwin on August 30th, 1797 in London, England. She was the daughter of a philosopher and political writer, William Godwin, and famed feminist Mary Wollstonecraft, the author of The Vindication of the Rights of Women. That was done in 1792. In 2014, Mary began a relationship with Percy Bysshe Shelley, and Percy Shelley was a devoted student of her father, but he soon focused his attentions on Mary. He was still then, of course, married to his first wife when he and the teenaged Mary fled England together that same year. They were married in 1816. Scandalous. The following summer, the Shelleys were in Switzerland with Jane Clairmont, Lord Byron, and John Polidori. The group entertained themselves one rainy day by reading a book of ghost stories. Lord Byron suggested that they all should try their hand at writing their own horror story. It was at this time that Mary Shelley began working on what would become her most famous novel, Frankenstein, or the Modern Prometheus. I love this. This is the original cover of the book. Isn't that great? Frankenstein, or the Modern Prometheus, in 3 volumes. I try to get the original book cover where I can. In 1816, an unseasonably cold summer at Lake Geneva, Percy and Mary Shelley, along with Lord Byron, challenged each other to write a ghost story to share. Mary longed to create a tale which would speak to the mysterious fears of our nature and awakening the thrilling horror, only to make the reader dread to look around, to curdle the blood and quicken the beatings of the heart. In doing so, she not only launched thousands of horror stories, but essentially invented science fiction as a literary genre. So, the summary: Captain Robert Walton encounters Victor Frankenstein in the barren, icy world. As he nurses Frankenstein back to health, he hears about the young scientist's childhood, an early experiment seeking to animate dead creatures. Using corpses and slaughtered animals, he fashions a creature, but the result shocks and scares him and he flees. A string of murders follows the scientist, which he believes to be caused by his monster. In the mountains, Frankenstein meets the monster, who eloquently pleads for a companion to combat his isolation. The doctor agrees, then becomes increasingly horrified as the monster kills again. The doctor vows to spend the rest of his life exacting revenge. All right, so we're going to end at number 42 today with the thrills of Frankenstein. And next time we get together, we'll examine probably another 10 more books. And we're going to keep on going until we reach number one. We'll take a look at the summary, the author, the books, talk a little bit of trivia, and I hope that you will maybe once again reread these books in some cases, or read the books for the first time. Some of these books you've known, some of them you don't know. So I look forward to seeing you all again the next time.